Welcome, everyone, to our monthly spirituality and health seminar. And today, I'm so excited to introduce to you Lynn Latifa Haben. Lynn has practiced dental medicine for 25 years. She has completed a fellowship in geriatric medicine and dentistry at Duke University, is a trauma healing practitioner, and holds a master's in divinity in ministry, along with certifications in many healing modalities, including energy medicine. She has authored Alchemy of Awakening, currently teaches spiritual healing with the Institute of Spiritual Healing, and maintains a practice facilitating wellness and wholeness. So, Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you. So take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Harold. Thank you for the invitation, and I thank you for the insight and the forward thinking that you had to create this group. And I want to thank everybody that is joining for the curiosity and seeing how we can come to resolution in many areas of our life from the place of more. So thank you. All right, so let's get it started. So one of the things that has come to me, there's a quote from a spiritualist, um, actually not a spiritualist, from from Alvin Toffler, who was very active in the 70s. And the quote that he shared is about my journey in the physical and also in the spiritual. And the quote is, the illiteracy of the 21st century is no longer the inability to read and write. It is the inability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And basically, I get to experience that in so many areas of my life, and we all do, whether we're aware of it or not. And it's just it's always a constant reminder for me as I continue with my healing of the physical body. All right. So 31 years ago, I awoke on a day no different than any other, without realizing the life that I'd been living and the future that I was planning were about to change. I became aware that morning that my body from the chest down was asleep. It was no different than if you slept wrong on an arm or a leg and impeding the circulation and compressing the nerve. I couldn't understand how this could happen to such a large part of my body. And I sat up, waiting for the pins and needles sensation to occur. That did not occur. I stumbled to the bathroom to get ready for work. I was confused about what had happened, and after reaching out to coworkers, I was quickly scheduled for neurological evaluations. I was furthering my studies as fellow in geriatric medicine and dentistry at Duke at the time. I excuse me. I received a full gamut of tests, and the results came back normal, although quite high in the normal range. When I returned for the explanation of findings, a resident greeted me, and I was given a provisional diagnosis of relapsing remitting MS, multiple sclerosis, and placed on oral steroids for a month. No improvements or changes occurred from this treatment, and I was told to take a leave as needed. My impression of what was happening felt as though I was in a place of the unknown, a place where I had never been before or never would acknowledge. There were no answers, neither from myself nor of the experts, and I was not willing to change course of my plan's goals. At the time, I was at one of the preeminent medical facilities in North Carolina and had been evaluated by the experts in the field the symptoms that I was experiencing. Unfortunately, there's not much available to fix me, only the possibility to mitigate symptoms or slow progression. I was unable to see how I could be fixed. I spent years in training and was in the early stages of my profession of dental medicine. I didn't know much about this disease and started researching it. I realized that there weren't any absolutes. It was more of an ever-moving target. How could I move forward with my life with this unknown hanging over me when I had only really just begun? How was I going to be able to support myself if I came unable to work? Was I going to be able to care for myself? All of these questions were swirling around in my mind, and I still had no answers. Interestingly, a question that did not arise was what was happening to my body and why? I had no family history of MS or autoimmune diseases that I was aware of. Since the results were conclusively inconclusive, how was I to proceed? The only thing that I knew how to do was to move forward with my chosen plan. I had the understanding from a very young age that to succeed, it took hard work and perseverance. I adapted this philosophy and pushed ahead. I'm so grateful for the body that I've been given and its ability to adapt and overcome. I was adapting to my changes in sensation, relearning how to negotiate this different state of being. I stopped driving for 6 months as my body relearned how much pressure to put on the brakes and gas pedal for safety. This relearning was being driven by my eyes taking a more conscious lead role, engaging the distance pressure ratio. Thankful, my first presentation of my symptoms was sensory, and my body found ways to accommodate the changes, allowing me to move on in this new normal without much change. Over the next 6 years, I continued to focus on my work and keep my body physically active. I was lucky not to have any periods where I was debilitated and needed to miss work or my next adventure, as the implied relapses can cause. There may have been bumps in the road, and I would just push through. Multiple sclerosis truly is a subclinical disease process for me. It was at work in the background, and my determination was drowning out many of the messages that my body was sending, possibly asking for a different way forward. A little later, I received a signal that was unmistakable that it was time for me to take another look at what was happening. I was at the beach having a wonderful day body surfing, spending time with friends. And when I went to get out of the water, I got to a certain depth of water on my legs, and I kept falling. I couldn't understand why this was. Ultimately, I did get out with a lot of sand in my bathing suit, though. It was time to seek out experts to help me. This time, the test was easier, just an MRI of my brain. I asked the technician if I could look at the results on the monitor, and I could see that there was something wrong. 2 weeks later, it was confirmed by the neurologist that I unequivocally had MS. I started the immunosuppressive therapies that were available that time and continued to press forward professionally and enjoying life. It was a slow slide of losing capability that was almost imperceptible until it became obvious. In one moment, I was able to do something, while in the next moment, that ability was gone or diminished. And then in another moment, the ability might resurface. Over the course of the next 7 years, things just got harder to do. During this time, I switched medications from immunosuppressive drug to a biological pharmaceutical that had a higher percentage of decreasing relapses, difference between 32 and 66%. And I wasn't ready to stop. So I needed to go for the higher percentage. In fact, the new infusion was so much easier on my body, and it was once a month instead of every other day. Any dips in my energy or just feeling a little out, little off, almost disappeared once I realized that if I'd had an acupuncture session after the infusion, I didn't feel a significant change in my energy at all. And 2007 was another turning point. The lack of ease in performing my work and walking was becoming more evident. I started using a cane. I again realized that it was time to take another look. I saw my neurologist to talk about where we could go from here, and he recommended a second opinion with a neurologist in Chicago. I called for an appointment at the end of October and was told that there was nothing available until June. At this time, I truly did not know how I could keep going with the level of fatigue and diminishing physical capabilities that I had. My walking was labored, and I was becoming harder to support myself sitting. I asked my doctor if if this guy had ever had any cancellations, and I was told no. And in light of that, I asked to be notified if anything changed. Interestingly enough, within 3 days, he had a cancellation. The following week, and I was so excited. How wonderful to be able to get some answers and be able to move forward so much sooner. I asked them to give me a day to rearrange my patient schedule and make my travel arrangements from my home in North Carolina. When I arrived in Chicago, it was snowing. Oh, sorry, hold on. It was snowing, and I made my way to the hospital with my MRI images and records for my history with MS. I met with the neurologist, and he shared with me something that I had always felt, yet in all my research, the literature, had never shown up. He said that I had a spinal cord MS. Finally, I had confirmation of what I already knew. I had some lesions in my brain, and they were not the cause of my diminishing physical ability. He further shared that none of the drugs on the market or coming to market would be of use to me. He told me that there was the possibility of me receiving a chemotherapeutic agent, Cytoxan, an early breast cancer treatment. His studies had shown that this treatment might prevent further progression of the disease and not reverse any of the damage already present. I asked him how this would be tracked, and I was informed that they would continue to look for changes in my MRIs. I returned home to reflect on this new information, knowing that my MRIs had been stable since 2004. I took this information to my neurologist in North Carolina after having sat with it overnight and asked him what his recommendation would be. I had gotten the feeling that Cytoxan wasn't the answer and did not share this with him. His response was that he did not see benefit with the course of treatment prescribed, and confirming my own intuition. And we decided not to proceed with Cytoxan. We agreed that I should stop taking therapies that were of no use and costly, although he was uncomfortable with me not being on anything. I now had information to understand that there was nothing for me in allopathic medicine. My world was starting to unravel as I knew it. Where was I to turn? I was moving further into unfamiliar territory without the physical capabilities I had always counted on. And my reality was to be turned on its head. I had no idea what my next steps would be. I was not ready to stop being of service to my patients and community. And what was this new way of being that I was going to have? What did they look like? It was fuzzy. The way I was experiencing life was to be changed. What I considered a purposeful, driven life of service would be changed, and I had no idea what that would be. Within the next 8 months, I had stopped working, my marriage ended, and I started the process of moving to a new state. At the same time, I was being thrown a lifeline that I hadn't consciously asked for, nor really realized was there. A couple of weeks before my trip to Chicago, I was spending time with friends in the mountains of North Carolina. One of my friends I hadn't seen a lot. She is a former women's basketball coach, and we were in conversation about women's athletics in Title IX. She knew that I had played college sports and could see the changes in my abilities, and casually remarked that I had a good spirit, and that there was someone that she thought would be helpful for me to talk to. I took the information she provided and made a call. I had no idea who this person was or what she did. Interestingly enough, I didn't do my usual due diligence to find out prior to the scheduled call. It was an interesting first conversation with this woman. She asked how I felt about religion and what my relationship with God was. I shared that I had been very involved in the Methodist Church into my mid-20s, and I left the church when I was unable to reconcile the truth of the message and people's actions. I reflected on this time. I realized there was a similar disconnect within me. I believed in God and considered myself at that time more spiritual than religious and communing with God and nature instead of church. I was and continued to be in awe of creation and did not really see the creator, just the creation, stopping with my intellectual interpretation, disconnected from the truth of the meaning behind the images. She saw this disconnection in me and said to me that I didn't know God. Well, this made my very being tense up, and for whatever reason, I didn't call her on it. I knew God. I scheduled another call for the following week and went about my life without giving the conversation second thought, or that's what I thought. The following week, after greeting each other, my first words were, "Okay, I'll give you, I don't know God." This caught me unaware, even though I said it. Her follow-up was, what do you mean by that? And my reply was that I knew God in my mind and not in my heart. Those words opened within me a new way to experience God. I found out soon after that she was a spiritual healer, still not really knowing what that meant. A door was opened for me to explore previously unrevealed path to find a way forward. There are many paths that I have traveled through studies and experiences to see what is possible in both the seen and the unseen, supporting my journey while I'm embodying. Through this connection, I found the mystical path of Sufism, and now that I now walk, this has become my way to find peace, hope, and restoration. An adventure had opened for me to see the world with many different lenses, including the one that I originally viewed through science and allopathic medicine. I was a curious child, and that continues to serve me to this day. I've spent my life in astounding curiosity, always wanting to know the how, the why, and the when, finding the world a place of wondrous adventure, wanting to take things apart to see what made them work, and if I could put them back together again. I was also always looking for other ways to achieve outcomes. These may have been older and simpler methods, current technologies, or new ways yet to be discovered. I always have been curious about how other cultures have done things differently than what my experience has been. It feels like I've always held space within myself for other with curiosity. I never really thought about any of these things until now, reflecting back upon them. From a young age, I realized that there were questions and conditions that failed to be explainable, and I wanted to understand them. I currently am continuing to get more comfortable in this place of not knowing and moving within these places, dancing with them instead of resisting or running from them. That curiosity has taken me on a journey of healing, hope, and stepping into the unknown, a journey of my return to my connection to God, to my source of being. We are all on this journey of return from the very beginning of being embodied. Our journeys are all unique in the adventures we take to get there. I was looking for something from my subconscious. What was this ephemeral consciousness that I was seeking? We often ponder, how do bad things happen to good people? I found within my experiences on my journey that sometimes things just happen to help us come back into balance, to help us remember that there is something greater than self and its desires and achievements. When this ease first entered into my awareness, my being, for a moment, the question that popped in was, why me? In the next breath, there was an answer, reformulated. Why not me? I had always believed in a loving God, and that did not change. I also did not believe myself to be a victim and would not fall into that pattern. I innately knew that there was help somewhere, and it was time to start to experience my reality in a different way. All of my previous experiences were necessary for me to get to where I am now. Nothing is wasted. It was also meant to travel this path solo for now, in this world of not reality. Having been introduced to the mystical path of Sufism, my world began to open in a new way. Upon reading and studying mystical texts, I began to experience love in an unconditional way that I had never known, and to see the truths that were beyond and more embracing than personal truths. Along with Sufism, I was delving into Buddhism, Taoism, studying the Upanishads and Tibetan teachings, among others. I also started traveling to see and experience other healing modalities, including shamanism, indigenous medicine, men and women, and healing mediums in North and South America. I studied prophetic medicine, TIB, and learned more about plant medicine, energy, and frequencies. Through all my experiences and studies, the only thing that had any traction for me was Sufism. Through the Sufi path, I was able to see and unpack healing from many of the limiting and false beliefs I was carrying, including that I was alone. The container that allowed this was one of unconditional love and non-judgment. This unconditional love allowed me to reconnect with my body and claim it as a friend instead of an adversary. I've had to present with whatever is moving. I've had to be present with whatever is moving within me. Notice it, converse with it, without judgment, holding it in love and respect for the wisdom it wishes to share with me, connecting with all the wisdom of the body, the brain, the heart, and the gut. I started to heal from within. A lifeline that I spoke of earlier was that God consciousness was reaching out to me to assist me in negotiating this new terrain that I was traversing. There have been many times in my life when this occurred, and I got taste of the possibility in a forgotten realm. And I quickly moved on to something else more familiar. With the world, I knew unraveling. I didn't know what to do or how to facilitate my doing. I was out of balance, between the world and spirit, and I was being given an opportunity to find that place of balance. I had been looking to the world to receive what I needed, and from that place, there was a certain emptiness. The Sufi path is a healing journey of introspection and connection with my body and the deep mercy, love, and forgiveness God has for each one of us. It is divine light of love penetrating our wounds without judgment, only with love and compassion, no matter the present state of being. When we start a conversation about healing from within, an opportunity is presented to change the paradigm we've been exposed to and adopted. New doors start to open through exploration encompassing our whole body. Instead of only our chief complaint, uncovering layer by layer those experiences that keep us veiled from our true essence and connection to a place of greater than self. Experience the self as a whole enables us to look behind our wounds to the root causes that our lives have encountered and release them. Those pieces of us that we carry through our lives are impacting our physical, emotional, and spiritual being, and ultimately our health. My arrival at this current place of peace has been a sequence of multiple arcs, not linear at all, and has been occurring over my entire lifetime. These arcs have been coalescing to form a circle of unique oneness, of unity. In the beginning, it was from an unconscious place. Over the past 17 years, this has been a much more conscious exploration. Today, I'm in a place where my need to control outcomes has become less, starting with my body from a place from where I was no longer able to demand results and have expectations of my abilities. I have learned to become kind to myself, show myself compassion to the best of my ability in each moment. The more I practice this, the easier it becomes. Truly, each moment is our unfolding reality of what is. This does not mean that I don't have dreams and hopes, and yet it helps me find peace with whatever is available to me in each moment. This also does not mean that I can't have longing for what was. I hold that place now more from a place of gratitude for what was and anticipation of what is yet to be, without judgment or attachment to results. As my adventure continues, I'm becoming more successful, being in each moment and experiencing the joy, freedom, and love available here. This allows me to be of greater service to others by sharing this joy, love, and freedom. The journeys that I have taken to witness and experience other forms of healing really had nothing to do about my physical body being restored, although I am grateful for any restoration that occurred. My journey is around expanding my consciousness to allow me access to divine, universal truths and open to allowing my body, soul, and spirit to receive these truths without separation. When everything I knew appeared to be disappearing over the course of my adventure with MS, I was being given the consciousness. I was being given the time to connect to the plate of the greater than self, God consciousness, and allow that love to heal me. I had been in a place of debilitating fatigue, loss of sensation, proprioception, motor control of my left leg, and muscle control of many areas of my body. There were no medications or modalities to restore the function. And yet today, through grace, my sensations, proprioception, some of my strength and function have returned, along with major mitigation of my fatigue. Strength is continuing to return, allowing me to relearn how to walk. And with all this, this journey never really was about the body. And yet the body is ultimately the catalyst that was drawing me back to the love, a forgotten heart connection to God, to heal and find the true joy, peace, and freedom that we can experience when we're here in body. I love this Rumi poem that I'm going to share with you. I said, "What about my eyes?" He said, "Keep them on the road." I said, "What about my passion?" He said, "Keep it burning." I said, "What about my heart?" He said, "Tell me what you hold inside it." I said, "Pain and sorrow." He said, "Stay with it. The wound is the place where the light enters you." Mm. Love is a powerful healer. And as the mystical poet really says in this last line, the wound is the place where the light enters you. The wounds we each carry, whether seen or unseen, are doorways, accessing our true essence, the truth of who we really are. The light manifests through the Creator's love for us, to return to our essential selves and find each of our purposes for being in this world. The invitation is to open to allowing the light in and assisting those who seek care and those of us who provide care to learn and be open to the possibility of more so that we can experience so much more than our imagination even can understand. Oh, well, I rushed. I apologize. This concludes the talk, and I would love to take any questions or reflections that you have.
That's a wonderful presentation, very moving, very personal. And so let's open it up for questions for people who might want to explore some of the wisdom that you shared with us today, Lynn.
Thank you.
Walt, you're up. Walt, go ahead and ask your question. Oh, maybe Walt doesn't have a question.
Basically, I'm through all of these explorations, and I've traveled to Peru to understand more about plant medicine and work with shaman down there, and have worked with indigenous healers in North America. And as I've stated, I'm extremely curious. So just being able to experience those things and to see how indigenous peoples hold um, the sanctity and honor the medicines, the plant medicines that they use, and the whole sacredness surrounding the ceremonies to um, to help people move into new consciousnesses it was really astounding to witness and to be part of.
Vicky, I see that you've unmuted yourself. Would you like to ask a question?
Do
How?
you,
Yeah. Go ahead. If not, then Farnaz has, yes,
yes,
Farnaz, go ahead.
yes, thank you very much for this presentation. I have been diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, since 1995, and have been struggling with that ever since. And thanks for the grace of God, I've been able to, I mean, I've been able to manage it into a point that I'm not using the allopathic medications right now, but my mobility is not as good. In fact, I am always searching for um, alternative remedies. And I heard you talking about the indigenous meditations and plant plant medicine.
Yeah,
Uh,
plant
that
medicine.
is something that is new. I mean, I've been using the all the any alternative medication medicine or any alternative remedy, but as far as the having contact with the indigenous healers, I just don't know how to approach that. I had never had any source of knowledge, to do any research on that. I
Yes.
would appreciate if you give me some information, please.
Um, Thank you. Thank you for your question. And I, my prayer for you is that you have continued healing around because I've had mine since 94 myself. Um, and anyway, I traveled to Peru to work with shamans, and they they use plant medicine, and these these medicines have psychotropic um, effects. They are hallucinogens, and I'm the kid that never did anything with drugs or anything like that. So it was interesting to see uh, what happened. People are able to unpack what the things that are holding them in separation from and taking up space within their nervous systems to create more space so that healing can happen. There is um, you can look into, there's a place, it's called Blue Morpho in Peru. It was written up in the Wall Street Journal and National Geographic. And they do ceremonies down there. It's a very personal choice, and it has gotten much easier. When I was visiting them, they were a bunch of huts with electricity, no electricity, did have facilities, and we slept in huts on mattresses on the floor. They've I think upgraded since then because it was quite a long time ago I was there. And as I said, healing wise, did it do anything for me from on the outer? Not really. What the work that I've been doing myself with the on my journey on this Sufi path, it has been unpacking all of these places that I have held that are false beliefs or mistaken beliefs. And as I do that, more space is created so that the light can come in and can heal us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
There is Manny looks like okay. Jean Christeller, she's unmuted herself. Jean, go ahead.
Hi. Hi, Harold.
Good to see you.
Lovely to see you too. This was very powerful. Um, the Peruvian connection is very interesting, but I wanted to go back a little earlier where you said that Sufism particularly engaged you more than some of the other, at the same time you recognize that there were commonalities across quite a few of those religious contexts that the Sufism particularly drew you. And I'm just curious if you could say a little bit more about why that was.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
Mhm.
Sufism is one of the mystical paths of one of the Abrahamic religions,
Mhm.
and it's based in Islam.
Yes.
And they the tariqa that I was introduced to is a healing tariqa. So it is all about the healing. It is all about getting down layer by layer to the root cause of why we have reactions like we do, and what causes illness within us. Um, the and so I've been doing a lot of personal introspective work over the past 17 years, to continue to uncover what it is within me that is causing me. It's not that I asked for this disease, yet this disease has opened something within me to find a way for me to be and truly embrace my full potential while I'm here. The They use a lot of I study TIP, and that is prophetic medicine. And so there are a lot of naturopathic remedies that can be used for many things. And to be honest with you, I don't take any pharmaceuticals, and I might take a couple of supplements. And I am grateful that that's where I am with this. But the Sufism, it opened when I first read the book Music of the Soul, which was written by the sheikh that was the head of the tariqa that I was introduced to, and was the head of the Greater Sufi Council at the Dome of the Rock, and that is Sheikh Sidi Mohammed Al-Jamal. And I read Music of the Soul. All I could feel coming out of it was love. And through feeling that love, that started to open my heart. Because as I stated earlier, I knew God. I knew God from my mind. And I have a very, very busy mind. And this started to drop me into opening into my heart and experiencing the world from that place. And it's not one is better than the other, yet they work really well together when we can get to that place. I don't know that if you want to tease things out more about that question, please, please, please do.
Well, it sounds like for you, that's where you made those connections. Even though I think virtually any of the religions in the world and have mystical aspects to them, and you will find people who connect in very similar ways to other contexts. So again, how it was that was what particularly called you to connect that way. It was remarkable and special, and I hear what you're saying.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I totally agree with you. There are many different paths, and there is a God is God across the board. And however you connect best is the path for you. And I knew nothing about this at all. And
That's too bad.
and it was just like, yeah, I was like, okay. And what I felt. And I also think that we're called to things. There's something deep within us that is being connected to that transcends the mind. So yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that question.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. There are some comments in the chat, and I think I'll just read them. So here's one from Shelley Varner Perez. She says, Lynn, thank you for sharing your diagnostic odyssey and your spiritual journey. How would you recommend others begin their own journeys? Is there something you wish you had known earlier?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting you asked that. It's like, yeah, it would have been wonderful to have this all throughout my life. Yet, for whatever reason, I chose, it was the way that I grew up, and everything was all about the mind. And I am I have been very connected to my mind for a long time, and that hasn't gone away. Yet there's a deeper place within us that calls us, it called me, and I think it calls all of us at some point for the answers that we can't find. And that place is that connection to something greater than the self. It's greater than how we've negotiated the world. And we've done that and there's nothing wrong with the way that we've negotiated the world, because the mind is there to, to help us be safe and be cared for. And when something happens, like it did with me, where I got to the place where I couldn't find it anymore there, I'm grateful that something else opened, that doorway opened for me to have that connection to start to be established. So the mind and the heart could come into balance and into connection, and I could start to negotiate a different way. And I found so much more peace and hope, and just it's I I would have loved to have found this years ago, and I'm grateful that I found it. And I think, well, I feel actually that disease can be one of the ways for us to find it. If we start to look at disease as a barometer to let us know how our body is doing, instead of wanting to immediately get it fixed, do something to distract ourselves from what's going on. And I mean, people that are in excruciating pain, you can't, it's hard to silence that enough so that the connection can be there. And yet, pharmaceuticals, other methods to dull that down to there's a place of homeostasis, even with that point of pain, is diminished enough so that they can then start to reach out from that place.
Very good. Next comment is from Corrine Thule. Thank you for sharing today. You honor us in sharing your story. I am interested in the strong instinct to withdraw and shut down in times of grief. It is challenging that this is the instinct at a time when one needs the spiritual connections to meaningful relationships, sacred spaces, and engaging practices. So can you speak to this a few moments?
Sure. Thank you for the question. Yeah, as I said, in when I'm in the talk, I found we all move through life in our own ways, and a lot of us will do it by ourselves. And to even be, for me to find, even having done most of this by myself, once we connect to the place of greater than ourselves and start to make that heart connection with that place of more, we realize that we're not really alone, that there is something else there. And for me, it's a benevolent presence that has my highest good. It's looking out for me that way. And when we're in those places of grief, for me personally, when I can't, I just want to go hide because it's too much. I also find that it's too much and I don't know what to do with it. So just starting to develop a relationship with the place of more within yourself, to know that there's something more for the things that we can't handle, that we can't carry, that we're never more ours meant for us to carry. It's those places that when we can turn things over to that place of larger than ourselves, to hold it, to help bring us some peace, so that we can then move within the grief instead of through the grief. And I say that, and I use within a lot more than through. Science major. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Well, if I'm moving through something, it has walls. And if it has walls, if I'm pushing against it, it's pushing back. So I want to move into it. I want to be in that place of that sacred dance where I'm not the one leading. And whether I know the steps or not, if I just move with it, it becomes a beautiful unfolding of what's moving within me. I hope that's helpful.
That's great, Lynn. That's great. Thank you. Camelia, you're up. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. And thank you for this wonderful talk. And I would like to make a little comment, and I have a question. Maybe the question is a bit for Dr. Koenig as well. So in listening to this beautiful story, my mind goes towards there are all you look around and most people are searching for God, maybe in the tradition they grew up in, maybe the tradition that was immediately available to them. A lot of people are trying to find the right belief and they feel like everything else is false. And then I listen to you, even though I'm a Christian Orthodox, I have no doubt that you have found God through Sufism. And then my question is, what does this mean for religions, the Christian denominations, religious traditions? What does it mean? Because what it means to me is that there is one God, and it's not about the right and the wrong kind of faith. It's about levels of faith maturity. And I think when the faith maturity reaches those higher levels, it starts to look like unconditional love in any religious tradition. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. But I would like to hear your opinion and maybe Dr. Koenig, because Dr. Koenig knows so much about world religions. Do they ultimately have unconditional love in common?
Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your question and for to bring this forth, because as I said before, God, to me, it doesn't matter whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're Taoist, whether you're zero, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, however you practice your religion, there is unconditional love because there was in me growing up as a Methodist in Protestantism. I felt that love. And then my mind got in the way. And the reason that I've moved to the mystical path is tell you a little secret about myself. I really have never liked anybody telling me how I should be doing something. So um, I wanted to have my own experience. It isn't that I didn't distrust what they were saying. It was that more is I needed to experience it. And the path that I'm on is a very experiential path. It instead of looking at a jar of honey and saying that's honey, it's tasting the honey and to be in the experience of it, which feeds me much more deeply. And there is in any of the religions or spiritual practices, we all strive to find that place of unconditional love. And that's what I've found in this for me.
Yeah, Camelia, my opinion is that, that God's love for us is unconditional. And we and it's there all the time, but if you do stuff that alienate you from God or don't follow his laws and rules, you can't experience that love. There's a block in that unconditional love. So God is touching people in various religious traditions using their own language based on their culture in order to communicate to them how to live their lives in a way so that they can experience his unconditional love. Now, that is not easy because the path is narrow. It's pretty narrow in most of the religions because the moral values and truths are largely the same, and those moral paths are narrow. So that's my opinion, Camelia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see. Nobody, we've got some more questions in the chat. This is from Eunice Dye. Hello, Lynn. Thanks much for your sharing. My question is, how do you remain hopeful on the mysterious healing journey? How do you remain hopeful in the mysterious healing journey, which, takes various paths, as I'm sure you've experienced? How do you keep the hope up?
Well, I know that everything that happens, there's a reason behind it. And I also hold the place where it's coming from a place of love and that there is deep wisdom for me in it if I will stick with it. And to be honest with you, in the midst of all of this journey, I really never have lost hope. And I think part of that might be genetics. My father had definitely a big hope gene. But I also, I know I'm here for a reason. Has that fully been revealed to me? No, I'm still a work in progress, as I think most of us are. And that being said, I'm excited for what the continued unfolding that is happening so that the hope is always there. Do I hope that I walk again? Yeah, I hope that I can go out and hike on some trails. And I'm okay the way I am at this moment in time. And as I said, my standing balance is getting better. I'm relearning how to walk little by little. And it's and I can't do it the way that I used to. And that's okay because it's a different way to experience the world and just to look at it as it's just different. It's not good or bad. So hopefully.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I think it's touched the hearts of many of us. And our time is up, so we're going to have to close out. Thank you all for your wonderful comments as well and your questions. And so I will see you next month, and stay safe. God bless until then. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you all.